News out of the NBA where Joel Embiid has been named MVP. He's the first Sixers player to win the award since AI, the answer, Allen Iverson in 2001. Embiid led the league in scoring, averaging just over 33 points per game. That's the most by a center in 48 years since Bob McAdoo in 1975. Embiid finishes as MVP runner-up in each of the last 2 years, but got the best of Nikola Jokic this season. And here's a look at every Sixers player to win the MVP. We just talked about AI in 2001. Wilt Chamberlain won it 3 years in a row from 66 through 68. The great Dr. J. Julius Erving won it in 1981. Moses Malone in 83. We just talked about AI in 01. And now Joel Embiid going down with the Sixers to win the MVP this season in 2023. For more, we welcome in CBS Sports NBA insider Bill Reiter. And Bill, you've been telling us leading up to this announcement that Giannis Antetokounmpo would be your vote. Did the voters get this one right in giving it to Joel Embiid, who won by a pretty large margin over Joker?
Yeah, you're right, Larry. I voted for Giannis first, although I've been voting for this award since whenever Derrick Rose won that award, I guess 10 years ago. And this, I think, is the hardest race we've ever seen, and I don't think there was a wrong answer. There's just two guys you can't put top of the list. It made sense it would be Embiid. That's certainly the way the voting markets thought it would go, and frankly, most of my friends among the 100 people who are lucky enough / have the burden to be able to have a say in this thing. So I don't think they got it wrong. I had Embiid third on my list. I went Giannis, Jokic, Embiid, but I think you could go in any order, and it's a reasonable argument. It's a reasonable perspective. I think the race was that close, even if the final tally didn't say so.
So, Bill, what does this award mean for Embiid's legacy? We've seen him come in, trust the process, injured, a big man out of Kansas. Now he wins this award, had some injury issues, the feet, seems like he gets sick, the stomach ailments, and now he is the MVP, the most valuable player of the NBA. What does this mean for his legacy?
Yeah, in the midst of so much talent, I mean, not just Jokic and Giannis, but obviously Steph has won MVPs over this stretch, Kevin Durant, while he's been in the league. I think it's just a great big historical spotlight on what is and will be officially someday a Hall of Fame career. You don't have to have this be one of the greats. I think sometimes the voters get it wrong. There is a really strong, sometimes compelling groupthink that kicks in. I think that happened with Steve Nash back in the day. I think it cost Michael Jordan back in the day, certainly long before I was voting. Look at Charles Barkley, who on TNT was a part of announcing the award. You could just see the pain that he didn't get one. So I think for Embiid, he's got that career already. This just justifies the way he feels about himself, the arguments he made last year when he thought he was the MVP last season. He's obviously been a multi-time runner-up. So I think legacy perspective, it just cements what we already know about who he is as a player. And it probably takes some of the sting, Larry, out of what it felt like to have had the career he's having if he never got this honor.
Bill, what does it mean that Joker was the two-time back-to-back MVP, and maybe you get some fatigue there? You look at Joel, he campaigned for this. We saw what Doc Rivers had to say when he had the 50-point game against the Seas a few weeks ago. He said it's basically over. How much did that factor into the voters heading down the stretch here with this MVP race?
I mean, Doc's comments should have factored in exactly zero because each of those other guys had some pretty massive games, and you don't decide it based on a single game over 82 games. But I think you're right, Larry. There certainly was voter fatigue for Jokic. There shouldn't be. It shouldn't be part of the equation. But I've heard several guys, men and women, who actually have an official vote, say on radio interviews or just in conversations with me, that they were not sure they could vote for Jokic again, having voted for him the last couple times, or at least having had Jokic win the last couple. To me, that's not the way you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to take it in a vacuum, regular season, only this regular season, not what's happened before, not the previous accolades, not what you think their teams are going to do in the playoffs. But that's not the way human beings operate sometimes, and I think there's no doubt for me in my mind that Jokic lost votes because he had won 2 awards the last couple years.
I also think it helped when Embiid really gave it to him back in January in Philly when he had over 40, and Jokic had like the 20-plus point game and that huge loss for the Nuggets at the Sixers. All right, Bill, we're seeing now in the playoffs here, Embiid is hurt, Giannis is out, Joker is reminding everyone how dominant he is. What about the thoughts here about possibly including postseason play as well as a factor into the MVP race and the MVP voting?
It's interesting. Like, it's a great topic. I don't want to avoid your question. For me, my perspective as somebody who votes is I get a phone call. The league tells me I have the right to vote, and they tell me the parameters. They say it's regular season only, and so that's what I apply. But there is no doubt, Larry, that not everyone, as we just discussed, does that. There is no doubt in my mind that a lot of factors, including postseason success and really sometimes postseason failure in the past, has hindered candidates. So what I would prefer is, yes, we include the postseason, or the NBA league office does a better job of forcefully reminding people like me who get to vote, it's regular season, it's regular season, it's regular season. I don't honestly care which one it is. I will leave that to the folks who actually decide who gets to vote for these awards. I don't mind it just being the regular season, but I don't think it's a great idea to set that standard, to have that be the rule, and then to clearly have people saying and writing, because we're all media members, that we're actually impacted by history. If we're going to be impacted by history, let's have that be the direction. If we're not, let's start to nicely maybe shame people a little bit into remembering it's a regular season award until they tell us otherwise.
All right, good stuff, Bill. And how about Embiid? Was the runner-up the last 2 years. Finally, he is the man, the BMOC, the big man on campus in the NBA. He's Bill Reiter, CBS Sports NBA insider. Bill, thank you for the knowledge there. Here's Joel Embiid. Trust the process, folks. That's what it was all about when he came out of KU, got drafted, first round there with the Sixers. Sentenced to average over 33 points a game in a single season. There's Joel Embiid. This season, 2022-23 season. We talked about Bob McAdoo, the last one to do it, 74-75. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the all-time leading scorer, 71-72. And Wilt Chamberlain did it 7 times. Wilt still was a bad man. Embiid averaged 33.1 points a game this season. He is the 2022-23 MVP. Trust the process.